So, today, what I want to talk about is the idea of self care, specifically for people who kind of hate the idea of self care. And that used to describe me. So, a lot of us are homemakers, gardeners, homesteaders, maybe even homeschoolers. But the point is, we work really hard for other people. And we think that the harder we work for other people, the better off they will be. And we don't ever really stop to think about ourselves and our own needs and how that affects our relationship with our families. So, the first thing I want to establish is that you have to rethink the whole idea of self care. We have this idea that sometimes we are cooking, cleaning, taking care of our families, and then in the leftover time, maybe we get to do a little bit of something for ourselves to recharge. And that anytime we do that, we're taking away our family time, our work time, and focusing on us. And that's just not true. Taking care of yourself is part of taking care of the family, and it benefits the whole family because, like, think about something like chickens. You have to take care of them, not because you love them and want to nurture them, but because if you don't take care of them, they aren't healthy, they aren't productive, and you end up suffering. So self care benefits everyone. It's not a selfish thing that you're having to carve out for yourself. And to like practical ideas for self care, I want to sort of discuss more big picture things. Are really busy at home. Sometimes what you need to do is to think about why you are doing what you're doing and realize that there are some things you just need to stop doing. When I first got married, I thought it would really impress my husband and all of his friends if I could just make everything homemade, if I could sew all our own decorations, if I could cook everything from scratch, if I could have this huge, abundant garden. First of all, I didn't know how to do any of those things. And secondly, I really burnt myself out by working way too hard, and it was totally counterproductive because the harder I tried to impress him, the more unpleasant I was. And instead of doing things like making a dessert and saying, "Here, this is what I made for you," and being happy about that, I was bitter about it because I had worked so hard. So I was putting all of this energy, all of these expectations on everything that I did. And I would present it to him supposedly as a gift out of the kindness of my heart. And if he didn't love it, I was crushed and I felt so victimized, but really, in a way, it was being cruel to him because it was putting all of my own insecurities, all of my own expectations into everything I did. And it was this terrible cycle where I would just try to work harder and harder to be more and more impressive. And I was repelling him with it because I was exhausted from working so hard. I wasn't getting the admiration and attention that I thought I deserved. And the more selfless I thought I was being selfish because I was doing things because I wanted a reaction from people. So when you think about your duties at home, you need to think about, what do you really need to be doing? And what are you doing for the admiration of other people and to impress other people and to get some sort of reaction from them? And if you are doing something that's really hard, that's taking up a lot of your time, you need to be doing it for yourself. And then playing off of that, if there are things that you do enjoy. So like, for example, I love making all of our soaps and lotions. And my family, they like them, they're nice, but they don't love them. They don't really care that I make soap. When I put it in the bathroom, no one says, "Oh, this soap is so beautiful," and tells everyone about how their mom makes soap. They don't really care. So I need to realize that that is something that I'm doing for me. And then in a way, that becomes a form of self-care for myself. So it's a hobby, it's something I enjoy. I'm no longer placing that burden on my family of, this is something I'm doing for you, because I've come to realize that they don't really care about it. So this is sort of an attitude shift where if there are hobbies that you don't want to give up and they're a lot of work, you have to realize that those are your hobbies. That's something you're choosing to do. And that is a form of self-care in itself. And you need to start seeing it that way. If you don't see it that way, if it's a burden, if you have a lot of expectations every time you make something, then just stop doing it because it's not fair to the people who you think you're making it for. Another thing, a practical way for self-care is, if you need help with something, you need to ask for it. And asking for help does not mean oh, I'm so busy. Oh, if only, and hinting around the fact that nobody does anything around here except for you. You need to politely say, hey, I have a really busy week. I cannot take so and so to this activity, or I'm not going to have time to make dinner on Friday. Do you mind if we blah, blah? Do you mind grilling something for us that night? And instead of making people feel like they have to help you and that you're owed this help, frame it in a pleasant way. And this might seem like, well, I am owed this help and people do have to help me, but that's not really the point. You're not trying to prove a point and win an argument. You're trying to get help around the house so that you can relax more. So do things in a way that gets you what you want rather in a way that makes you feel right, and you're going to have a lot more success. Um, and the last thing that I would say is, this is probably the most commonly given advice for self care. And a lot of self care advice begins and ends with this, and that is do something for yourself, like a bubble bath or something dumb. But that to me is the least important part of self care, but it is still important. So you need to find something that's not about your home, not about your garden, not about your family, that you enjoy, like reading a fiction book instead of a gardening book, going to Bible study, something with your friends, going out once a month with just a girlfriend to go see a movie and get drinks. And it's a lot of times it's something that you're going to have to really schedule and make a commitment to, because it doesn't come naturally. People really think that the more they give of themselves, the more sacrifices that they make, the more they beat themselves down, the more their family is going to love and appreciate them. And it's just not the case. You become someone that no one wants to be around because you're constantly doing this martyr act about how busy you are. Everyone sees right through it. They just roll their eyes and you kind of get annoying. So don't do that. Focus on things for yourself. And the more you resist this idea, the more you hear this and say, no, I don't want to do that. I'll just work harder. The more you need it and the more you need to listen to it. So I really hope you take the time to see some of your duties as hobbies, to understand that you have needs, and to realize that meeting those needs is a gift to everyone in your family, not just to you.